Dirty Sports Podcast. I said welcome to the Dirty Sports Podcast with Andy Ruther and Joe Prano. Welcome to the Dirty Sports Podcast.
Welcome to the Dirty Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Andy Ruther, coming to you live from Cincinnati, Ohio, with my co-host from Port Hueneme, California, Joey No Chill Prano.
Hello, Andy.
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday, dog.
How we doing?
We're doing great. So many exciting things to talk about. Mets have the best record in the National League.
No, don't do it. Don't do it.
Francisco Lindor. This is a good one,
don't
Andy.
do this.
You'll like this.
Don't do this. Don't do this.
Hold on. Francisco Lindor. Does he seem like he's a super old guy to you, Andy? How old? Ballpark. How old do you think Francisco Lindor is?
Is he Dominican?
He's Puerto Rican, I believe.
Rican. You never know with these guys.
What do you think he's?
30?
Yeah, 31, I believe. He has passed Derek Jeter on the home runs for a shortstop list. Seems weird. Didn't Derek Jeter play till he was like 105?
What did Jeter have? Do you know the numbers?
260, and now Francisco Lindor has 261.
Who has the most home runs for a shortstop?
That's a great question. I mean, I wonder where Alex Rodriguez ranks, because he obviously switched over.
I pulled it up. It's Cal Ripken.
I was gonna say Cal's got to be up there with 300 and 350?
353, good guess.
And A-Rod has 345. I just got it.
Yeah.
That's crazy, dude. Alex Rodriguez would have run. I mean, we're talking about why Alex Rodriguez doesn't have the most home runs by a shortstop and will never be caught, because he had to move to third base so a guy could hit 260 career home runs could misfield the position.
That'll never be discussed, really. It's really interesting. You know, there's a lot on A-Rod, actually.
And what's amazing is, like, A-Rod, Jeter, the captain, the ultimate team god. A-Rod, the asshole, the piece of shit, the fucking egomaniac. Which one of them moved positions for the better of their team? And by the way, not for the better of their team, really, but because the classy captain team guy refused to move. How about play second base or center field, dog? You suck at shortstop.
Well, not only that, the A-Rod. Look, I think A-Rod. He I don't know. He comes across, like, personality-wise, I've always thought he was just kind of dorky and again, but like, take that out of it. Like, when he does commentary and I think I think he's very fake. I think he's a very fake person. But I don't really care. Like, I want to talk about on the field. The A-Rod thing will be very interesting because the spin, again, it's LeBron-esque, the spin, I think, on A-Rod. And again, he was like, I mean, am I wrong here? Was he black, like, in a way, blacklisted, blackballed, that he couldn't get the record?
Yeah.
Like he could still play ball.
You know what's crazy? You said he's kind of a dork and he's fake and he's whatever. So there's one thing, and this is not in a defense of A-Rod, but two people I've met that do this. And then you have LeBron James, who also is famous for doing this. I think there are some guys who were so good, so young, that the whole world knew that they were going to, and so that like back of the bus Bull Durham training, I'm just going to go out there and work hard every day and blah, blah, blah. Like the canned comment guy that seems super fake. I don't know if they're fake. I think that they've always done it. They didn't like get to the big leagues and learn, like, oh, you don't say this. When I met Eli Manning in the Giants locker room after a week 15 game or a week 16 game, whatever it was. The next week, the Giants had to win the game. They had to beat the Panthers to get into the playoffs. And we knew that. They finished the game, they won the game, and if they beat the Panthers next week to get in the playoffs. We're in the locker room, and I was like, chatting with him, and I was like, Eli, we beating the Panthers next week? He's like, we're going to prep real hard all week. We're going to, Coach Coughlin's going to come up with a great game plan for us. And it's really just about us going out there and executing. And I was like, oh, dude, I'm not a reporter. Like, I don't even have a tape recorder. I'm not a reporter. I'm just a guy. Are we going to beat the Panthers next week? And he's like, I think if we come out there and, we play a clean football game and we follow what Coach Coughlin puts together for us and we execute that, I think we got a great chance. I was like, oh, you're a robot. You are a robot. I also met A-Rod and talked to A-Rod at the Super Bowl in San Francisco at a party at the Super Bowl. Exactly the same guy. He's talking to you like, I was like, oh, A-Rod, I'm a Mets fan, so I kind of hate you. He was like, I was a Mets fan growing up too. Yeah, Keith Hernandez, loved him. And I was just like, bro, I'm trying to like low key take a dig at you, start a little funny conversations. Like, love it. I mean, Howard Johnson, Keith Hernandez, Carter, Gooden, Straw, man, love that team. Love the team. I was like, all right, good talk, Doug. Like, and LeBron does that because LeBron's been answering ESPN questions since he was 12. So yeah, A-Rod's like fake, but I don't think he's like faking it, if that makes sense.
Okay, and I guess we'll never know. And I was just throwing that in there to make a point that I feel like that hurts him, and I don't think it's right when it comes to the skill, the career, legacy.
What's funny is like Derek Jeter acts like this, like, I mean, there was the Jeter, the Captain Doc and whatever. And he's like, yeah, man, like he's got this thing. And he has this whole like front facing thing. And behind closed doors, he's like, I'm not moving. I'm the captain. I'm the shortstop. Honestly, the greatest single player that's ever stepped on a baseball field to this point, he should move positions. That's fake.
Yeah, well, again, when you look back, and we're starting to already on A-Rod career, on obviously Jeter, on I'm gonna throw like Barry Bonds in that whole era. It's just interesting because of the steroids and people who just don't. They dig in, they put their foot in the ground, and it's like they're like, no, these guys use steroids, and I'm just like, well, like these guys were so good.
And so was everybody they were playing against.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's just it stinks. I mean, I'll be honest. I like to see records broken personally. I think it's cool. I think it's fun. As a sports guy, it's enjoyable to watch. I think it stinks that A-Rod didn't get to break the record. I think
break 600 or break
the all-time home run record.
Yeah, they didn't even let him break 600.
Wait, no. How home? Let's see here.
Or was it 700? The Yankees basically wouldn't let him on the field, even though he was contractually like he was like 3 away or something like that.
Yeah, 700. That's it. 696.
Yeah. Now, obviously, yeah, the guy probably could have broken the all-time record by.
But that's what I'm saying,
yeah.
Dude. Bonds is at 762. But even Bonds, it's like these guys at the end. It's always weird to me that these guys can play for so long. Some guys, and then it's like the world decided A-Rod's not playing anywhere.
Well, I think teams decided
Bonds isn't playing anywhere.
The if you wanted to do the A-Rod could have probably done the 4 years at 20 home runs. The guy could come back to baseball and hit 20 home runs today. But they were like, oh, if he's not going to hit 60, this is why none of these owners and franchises and leagues stand for anything. But if he's not going to hit 50 and help us win a World Series, then we don't need the headache. We don't want to bet. Now we're going to take a stand against steroids. And it's like, why didn't you take a stand against steroids when he was hitting 50 bombs a year? And he was like the AL MVP.
Yeah. But I do think again, it's like it is weird how some of these guys end. Like I always felt that way about Terrell Owens. Terrell Owens last year with the Bengals. I'm looking at it now. I was like, You mean he didn't have anything left in the tank? He caught 72 balls for 983 yards, 9 touchdowns in 11 starts.
Compare that to Stephon Diggs' numbers last year.
That's what I'm saying. Like you're
Who
telling me
everybody's like, he's not an OTAs and he's doing fucking pink cocaine on a boat or like whatever. But like, we got to figure out how to get him into camp. It's like, why? So you can have another worse season than Terrell Owens' last season in the league that you guys blackballed him after.
Yeah, it's just weird to me.
Bruiser said, we're not doing this. I looped him in real fast.
No, because I'm not going to pivot back. I'm going to pivot back to the Knicks because that's obviously we have the Knicks and we have Ryan Klatt's going to join us later to preview Stanley Cup final. Obviously we have a lot to say about the Knicks Pacers. Look at the NBA finals. We also have a farewell to NBA on TNT. I spent a lot of time, I'm not going to play, but I spent a lot of time looking at clips that were posted on Twitter. Some of the best moments. You know, there's a part of me that's just like, I hate to see it. Like I hate.
They're all going
to ESPN. I think so.
And it's gonna be produced by Turner Sports.
No, is it?
Turner Sports is gonna handle the production. Like, they're gonna be in the same fucking seats, dude.
Just on the different network.
Yeah.
So they are producing it.
Yeah.
Okay, well that changes a lot.
Well, what it changes is, why are we doing a fucking farewell tour?
Yeah. Well, I didn't know it was gonna be produced. You sure about that? I'm gonna pull that up. Yeah, you are correct.
No, I know. I wasn't waiting for the reveal here.
Well, I just wanted to double check. Well, you know, things could change. I just want to say this.
You know what? You're right. When you look at the ESPN's history in the last, I don't know, 8 to 10 years of producing content, they convince Shaq and Barkley to just be old heads who criticize the NBA everything. Like, maybe they turn them into like hot take guys who say like, you ain't gonna go out there and block 15 shots. You can't be a center in the NBA. Back in my day, I had to go up against Wilt. I had to go up against Kareem. I had to go up against Patrick Ewing. I had to go up against Bizarro Me. I had to go up against Rick Smith. I had to go up against Mutombo. Look at my stats. 15 blocks a game. Now you got Joel Embiid out here. You're blocking 4 shots a game. That ain't a center. Why don't you hang up by the 3-point line? Why don't you cut off half your legs and be a shooting guard? It'd be so weird if they like became ESPN hot take guys because they moved to ESPN.
I assume you're saying they already are. Well, look, this is what I wanted to say. It's cool. So it started in 2000. Or I'm sorry, no, I think it started in 96 or 95. Charles joined in 2000. What I was going to say was, it's been cool to be like, oh, like my NBA fandom has kind of followed the arc of that show as a guy who didn't live in a city with a team for most of his life. It's just, I don't think it can be understated how important that show, and I've read a lot of like pieces on it, which I thought were kind of interesting. Basically saying like, there hasn't, and I think we both agree, there hasn't been a show that has been this pivotal or instrumental in helping develop just the game. And I'm not saying obviously this isn't the main reason the NBA grew. My point is, you can't name a show. Like, you couldn't say, oh, College Game Day really, now it's helped college football. I'm not saying it hasn't, but it hasn't just developed this degree of just creating fandom. And I think getting people to watch this.
I think there's like there's a hockey night in Canada or something like that is the show.
Was it Don Cherry? Or it
Yeah,
was.
yeah. Like I don't know. We'll have to ask Ryan when he gets on if that's
I don't even know
similar.
if that's his name, by the way.
I don't either. But the thing about the NBA is the NBA has been a growing league for whatever. Like whereas baseball and certainly college football were established prior to television. NFL is obviously a TV sport. I feel like maybe you could say Monday Night Football, but that's obviously a game broadcast. But I would say Monday Night Football is the NFL's equivalent to inside the NBA. But baseball and college football, fully established games before literally the invention of television.
Yeah.
But now baseball is dying, which is why Major League Baseball, I would just like to say I am available if we want to bring back this week in baseball.
There's a throwback this week in baseball.
When I was a kid, man, that was my shit.
Yeah, that was a jam this week in baseball. Well, I'm happy to know that it's being produced by the same crew, and it's just it will be weird to see them on ESPN though. I don't know. I don't think ESPN knows what to do at this point. I'm being serious. I don't think outside of having the rights to the actual games of sports, I just don't think they don't know. I just think they don't know what to do. And I don't know if you followed, but like their betting app has been a massive failure.
Well, why would you want to bet with ESPN? Again, like you know, they're the worldwide leader in sports, but you're not the worldwide leader in gambling. If I'm going to go on, I'm going to go on MGM, Caesars, FanDuel, DraftKings, all the things. Like, why am I going?
That's my point. Is like that's a huge, multi-billion-dollar investment that they whiffed on, and they were too late to the game. And it's I don't know if you saw it, and I had it on the rundown. I think I took it off. Yeah, they got their new ESPN exclusive app. I think it's gonna be like $35 a month, and I'm just like, I'll be curious how that does. It's like, multiple ESPN channels and whatever, but I'm just like,
isn't that ESPN Plus or whatever? Like what?
Let me see. God, I had it. What is it gonna be? When is this debut? No, this is a new one.
I get that, but what's different from
$30 a month? ESPN's new streaming service will be launching this fall, just called ESPN. Okay, costs $29.99 a month. The standalone service will offer access to all ESPN's networks, including ESPN, ESPN2, ESPNU, SEC Network, ACC Network, ESPN Deportes. It will also include ABC, ESPN Plus. I just,
you know what they would do if they were smart. And I'm not here to save ESPN on their multiple failed apps, but they wanted to save the ESPN app, the ESPN Bet app simultaneously. Every month to start your month, you get one 50-50, get one minus 10, minus 110 bet. If you win it, you get the app free for the month. If you lose it, you got to pay.
Or everybody who signs up for the app gets a $25 code. Just that, that's how you bring people in. Just bring them in with the $25 code or $50 code, whatever it is.
Yeah, but give me a chance to gamble through the ESPN Bet app for my free ESPN.
But that's my point. Give them the ESPN. You sign up for the streaming, you get $25 deposit into the ESPN Bet. And I could be wrong. I just, and I'm sure this is going to be tied as well since they own Disney. There'll probably be some sort of deal with Disney, I think. But my thing is, who's like, and again, I could be completely wrong. Is there a person out there that says, I just want to pay $30 just for this? Maybe there are. I don't, in my head, I'm just like, okay.
I mean, maybe there's people out there who just like want on demand Aaron Rodgers telling Pat McAfee where he's not playing football next year. Just need it.
Well, that's on YouTube.
Every Tuesday, right?
So my point is like I pay for YouTube TV. My point is, and then we'll move on from this.
Flexing on us.
What?
Just flexing on us. I pay for YouTube TV.
I guess, but $85 a month is like, it includes everything, all of what I just said, and then all the shit that she's gonna watch, all those terrible reality shows, and it's just like I don't know. And again, I could be wrong. Maybe there is a market for this.
Yeah, but I'm sure the ESPN app will have exclusives. Like, now that they're getting inside the NBA, I assume that you'll be able to go on there like exclusively on the app. Shaq lists his top 15 centers that could not play back in my day.
I don't know. I just think it's like there's just as many NFL and NBA games starting next year. They're going to be on Amazon and Netflix. You see, my point is like you're not getting everything. You still got to get all the other stuff.
When any of these streaming services figure out how to limit our passwords, I'm never watching anything ever again.
Well, I thought Netflix has put some clamps down on that. Let's not delay the inevitable, guys, right? People want to talk Knicks, they want to talk Pacers, they want to talk Game 6. How was the live?
Was there
a meltdown?
It was uneventful right up until there was a meltdown. Yeah.
I received some DMs.
Did I melted down?
I received a few DMs.
I said it throughout the game. I said it throughout the game. I was like,
and by the way, these are not the DMs I received. Also, some very staunch Joe Prano guys who were like, "Hey, yo, you got to hop on." I missed them. They're like, "You got to hop on, man. Prano's melting down."
Here's the one thing, and this is a credit to our Substack, game from the past year. The one thing I do like, and this is kind of ties to what we were just talking about, where, all these things are making you pay for a thing or an exclusive or whatever. It's like the Substack, just the sign up, paywall, whatever, does a good job filtering out fucking haters. It's mostly people who like want to support our brand, are fans of probably Joe Prano and Andy Ruther both. I think that people who are like, yeah, I don't need to hear Andy talking about daycare and Prano sucking off fucking Juan Soto. I'm not paying for that shit. It's like, okay. All the lives I've done, all extremely positive places. And I said, listen, I was nervous from start to finish. Game 1, Game 2, Game 3, Game 4, Game 5. I said it in the live. I was like, I'm not filled with nerves for some reason. Maybe it's like now it's win or go home. Now, like maybe the nerves were about like the series and getting the upper hand in the series or evening the series or pulling the series close. But like for the whole first half, and it was a pretty close first half, obviously. I was like, I'm not nervous. This feels like it'll, I was like, but I feel like this is going to ramp up significantly, if this game is close down the stretch, which it wasn't. So then it just went the other way. Like my anger about, 10 different things all culminated simultaneously. And I was just, I was drinking and yelling and drinking and yelling.
So what were you mad about? Like some of the calls, officiating,
truly across the board. And it doesn't start with calls. The calls were a part of it. Obviously, there was in Game 1, that is like basically the sole reason the Pacers won this series. You know, the game 1 swing. There was a 6-point swing call. There was like a mystery. Deuce McBride stepped out of bounds on a 3 call in this game, and I was just like, what? Like, I was freaking out about the call. There was a couple calls where, and we'll get deep into Karl Anthony Towns, but like, you hate to see Karl Anthony Towns be called soft, and then he's just getting bodied and bodied and bodied on every drive to the hoop. And then when he's like, oh, cool, we're not going to call anything, I'm going to go back at him. They're like, whistle, offensive foul. So that was annoying. Again, the referee thing, I'm not looking to play this style of game or that style. Just be consistent. And I got to say, you know, there's a lot of NBA conspiracies out there. One that is, you know, almost being revealed slowly at this point is that the NBA hates James Dolan. I was completely unaware of this until recently. I mean, everybody hates James Dolan, but I didn't know they actually hated James Dolan and that he was like, whatever. So, but
what is that real quick? I'd like to hear more about that.
James Dolan is basically the Jerry Jones of the NBA. He doesn't want to participate in revenue sharing. He certainly doesn't want to participate in revenue sharing to the degree that all the teams are forced to participate. He's like, I'm the New York Knicks. I sell my tickets for this much. People pay that much. Why should I sell a pair of tickets for $25,000 and you sell a pair of tickets for $900 because no one has any money or really gives a fuck in Indiana? And then everybody just shares this money and everybody's sharing this TV deal. And so Adam Silver apparently, and I didn't know this was revealed to me via Bill Simmons like a couple of weeks ago. And like I said, I assumed the league hated James Dolan the same way everybody hates James Dolan just because he's a fucking asshole jerk off. But that's part of the conversation, which is I'm not accusing the NBA of fixing these games. Obviously, it never got to that point. But the weird inconsistencies, bro, don't own a basketball team if that basketball team can't win because everybody hates you so much. But again, that wasn't the lead thing. That was part of the things I was angry about. But that wasn't. There was also, you know, just the way the game went. Like Thibodeau not calling timeouts for some got like. He didn't even have to he doesn't even have to have some like grand coaching strategy. How about just steal what other teams do against you? The Knicks in this playoffs against the Pistons, against the Celtics, and against the Pacers. The only way that they really made it as far as they did were having these crazy runs, 3 20-point comebacks in one thing. And it got to the point in the Celtics series where they came back in the first 2 games by 20 points. Joe Mazzulla would then call a timeout every single time the Knicks went on a 6-0 run or an 8-2 run. Like the second they got back-to-back baskets, timeout. And that's what, you know, somebody, I think it was Mark Hawks, said in the comments of the live. He was like, you know, first half was close because no one got any momentum to get any. The Pacers crowd didn't get into it. The Knicks didn't get any sort of momentum, and you know, and I was saying that the whole game. I'm like, oh, I don't care being down 1 at the first or 2 at the half or whatever. Like that's the name of the game. Is like keep this game close. What was happening, which was annoying. And what was setting me off to a point where I wanted to fucking throw my beer through a wall was you had those two of the things I'm upset about happening in conjunction with one another, which was some questionable inconsistencies. How come their guys can just bang around Jalen Brunson the whole day, but if Karl Anthony Towns bangs anybody, whatever. And the Pacers play so fast that turnover, basket, turnover, basket, like it can go so fast that like you mix in a miss or a fast break off of a made basket with let's pull a Deuce McBride 3 off the board. Let's pull a Karl Anthony Towns 3-point play off the board. Let's whatever. And you go from 1-point game to 15-point game like that. If you don't have a coach calling a fucking timeout and go timeout, we're sure Deuce McBride stepped out of bounds. Weird call to make if you didn't see it happen. We're sure Karl Anthony Towns isn't allowed to bump guys back. Like, timeout. Let's have a conversation. Also, guys, settle down and get some water. This game's we're gonna lose grip on this game. I'm gonna go yell at some fucking referees. And Tom Thibodeau didn't do that. And listen, there are a lot of Knicks fans who are going like, the Knicks haven't made the Eastern Conference Finals in 25 years, and now they did. And you want to fire the coach? Yeah, I want to fire the coach.
So you want to fire Tibbs?
Yeah. And the only reason I don't want to fire Tibbs 100% is because I don't want to replace him with nobody. But I just don't think. I think that there's a couple things. One, if you're going to be a defensive-minded coach, you can't give up layups off of makes. If you're going to be if you're like, my shit is defense, you can't have the defensive performance you have simultaneously. Okay. And this is like, we're in a catch-22 situation with the Knicks, with their coach and their roster. If you have a defensive-minded coach, why did we go get Karl Anthony Towns? What's the plan here? To turn Karl Anthony Towns into a defender? I've said it on the show 1,000 fucking times. I'm not the world's biggest Karl Anthony Towns fan. Never have been, never will be. Doesn't really play a whole lot of defense. Add on to that the weird homophobic whistle he has for some reason. And you get to a point where you're like, okay. Not kind of what I said previewing game 6. Like, what if Karl Anthony Towns doesn't show up? What if he just does like a Karl Anthony Towns thing? And I just think if you're going to have this, we're a fucking tough defensive team, why are we going out and trading for guys who don't play defense? So, since I don't think anybody's calling for Karl Anthony Towns, and I've said that the whole year, I didn't love this deal. I think the Knicks are a better team with Dante DiVincenzo and Isaiah Hartenstein, if you add Mikal Bridges, than they are with adding Mikal Bridges, Karl Anthony Towns, and who, right? So I'm just like, it seems like we have a personality problem. We got a coach who just wants to play defense. We have a second star that got added to a first star that also doesn't play a ton of defense. It's not the NFL where Bill Belichick schemes based on his, personnel. You can't just be like, oh, also now we're going to do this, because it's often, the offensive and defensive players play on the same side of the ball. Like, they play both sides of the game. So you can't just be like, oh, our personnel, we're a whatever team now. Because you have Tom Thibodeau. You don't have Mike D'Antoni. You can't just go, hey, now we're going to be an offensive team. You have Tom Thibodeau. He's not an offensive guy. So you've kind of made you've flawed your roster to not match your coach. And that was exposed a little bit.
All right, we have to talk about the Pacers, though.
Okay.
So you said Knicks in 6.
Yeah.
Start the series.
Yeah.
You didn't seem too worried about the Pacers. Maybe last year. I received something very interesting.
Last year, meaning what?
After the Knicks lost to the Pacers.
Yeah.
I'm going to play some.
Okay.
The Pacer fans have done some. They've done some receipt digging.
Okay. Well, let me say this, because I don't know what's said in this, but guess what? Sadly, for Pacers fans who want to, I'm sure, dance on my grave or do the whole old takes exposed thing, I just broke down why this team isn't last year's team. And I give me.
But we're gonna talk Pacers now, not Knicks.
No, I know. But the Pacers, okay.
Why don't I just play the clip?
Sure, we can play it up. But let me just say this because I don't know what I said about the Pacers. But to this day, not worried about the Pacers if we trot out a healthy Jalen Brunson.
He's doubling down. He's doubling down, folks.
If we
unbelievable.
If we trot out a healthy Jalen Brunson, Dante DiVincenzo, OG Anunoby, Isaiah Hartenstein, Mitchell Robinson, like we did last year, we were a better team than the Pacers last year. If we're gonna do old takes exposed, hold on.
Unbelievable.
Back me up on this as my co-host on this show. Have I been a day one of this season? We are not as good a team as we were last year.
Yeah, I mean, look, you look. I think the trade. Look, I think obviously
the trade happened because I understand the trade happening, but from day one of this season, I have said we are not the team we were last year. And guess what?
But they also went farther this year, though.
Yeah, they went farther this year. That's kind of.
They also beat the defending champions.
I understand
in the second round of the playoffs.
I understand that. We didn't get a chance to beat the defending champs last year. We didn't get a chance to beat the team that was the champs last year. You can go if we want to do old takes exposed, go back on this show and find me saying, if we're healthy, we're going to beat the Boston Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals. I was all in on that squad, and that was me not giving a fuck whether or not Julius Randle played.
Okay, well this is the clip. I literally Dirtball put this together.
Okay.
Shout out to Rob. Slid into the DMs. He asked if I could play this. So this is last year after the Knicks lost to the Pacers.
Okay.
In the second round.
Things I have to worry about moving forward. Hear me, am not worried about the Indiana Pacers. Now you tell me.
Why?
But you tell me. Do you think that I'm being an asshole, hot take, dirty sports podcast host, or do you think I'm saying honestly, this pace like for the next 10 years, Tyrese Halliburton is younger than Jalen Brunson. Do you think I'm saying, you think I'm lying, or do you think I'm honest in saying like for the next 5 years, like I'm not really super worried about the Indiana Pacers?
Well, you're probably being honest, but my retort to that would be maybe you have your Knicks blinders on, because I would counter that as a young team. They've pieced together a nice little roster. You do have a coach who has won an NBA title as their head coach. But my point is, why are you not worried about them? And the follow-up question would be, does that have anything to do with that they just beat your team and you're just saying that?
Listen, you know what would make me worry about the Indiana Pacers? If they went into this series with all the Knicks injuries and they beat the fuck out of us, and they're like, we don't give a fuck about your injuries, dog. We swept your. The Pacers won. I also truly believe. No, hold on. I truly believe the Knicks are not just a little bit better than the Pacers. I think they're significantly better than the Pacers.
You think they're much better of a team?
And I'm not worried about like.
Okay.
Here's the thing. I thought it was gonna be way worse. I thought that was gonna be way worse.
But here's the thing. You said you weren't worried. I
thought it was gonna be a lot worse. That I was prepared to do some crow eating.
So you're not willing to say you were wrong?
No.
But they lost again to the Pacers.
Well, okay. That's
you're saying in that clip that the Knicks last year
were
are significantly better.
Yeah. Yeah.
you're standing by that, even though they just lost to him.
What's crazy is like if I hadn't spent the whole year saying the reason the Oklahoma City Thunder are going to win the NBA title and the reason the Knicks are not going to win the NBA title this year is we have lost Isaiah Hartenstein, who provided rebounding, defense, whatever. Now, to do that, obviously we got a better offensive player back, but we also, as I've been saying the whole year, lost our other guy who was able to create his own shot to the point where we went into this series and we went, well, how are the Cat Brunson thing? Both guys don't play great defense. So when one guy goes to the bench, they seem to thrive more. But then you have a Karl Anthony Towns. Yeah, he can kind of create his own shot, but you have to get him out on the perimeter and then get a chance to drive out. Like I've been saying this the whole season about. And again, this goes back to my.
But you still picked the Knicks to win in 6.
Yeah.
Even.
Oh, I can admit I was wrong on that. Obviously, this Pacers team is better than I thought they were. And listen, this Pacers team emerged as better than I thought they were before they played the Knicks. They beat the Cavs up handily.
Yeah.
That was impressive. Like everybody, listen, the Pacers were great down the stretch. Okay. The Knicks were locked into third the entire year. The entire year, the Knicks were locked into third. Down the stretch, the Pacers closed that gap to the point where the Knicks ended up winning the 3rd seed by a game. Rick Carlisle is a great coach. I was on the live saying Rick Carlisle is a better coach than Tom Thibodeau, always has been, always will be.
Sure. Agree.
I also said a guy like Rick Carlisle could never coach the New York Knicks. And I also stand by that because the fucking small market bitching and whining and the being a guy who's been in and around the NBA from a player to a coaching standpoint for 50 years and working these refs with the fucking crocodile tears is something that we don't stand for that in New York. We don't stand for the baby.
Well, he coached Dallas. Dallas is not a small market.
Yeah, but the New York press isn't here, and the New York fans aren't here for your baby bottle. Like, hey, we're gonna take a look at that. We're gonna protest this game. That shit. We can't. You can be a lot of things. You can be fucking terrible, but you can't be a fucking bitch. And listen, Rick Carlisle is a great NBA coach. He will be featured heavily in the 2011 Mavs documentary that I eventually make. If he agrees to do it, which he might not because he is a crybaby bitch that looks like he was caught in a fire. But the bottom line is he's a great NBA coach and he's perfect for Indiana. You can play this weird underdog thing and you can cry. You can just be a crybaby and it suits you. Okay. But the thing about this Knicks team, and again, we can do the I was wrong thing, but there's a reason why I am where I am with this team. And people are going like, anybody who wants to fire Tibbs is whatever. It's like what you built last year, you knew you had an injury problem in last year's playoff, and you knew you were a piece away. And I don't think anybody thought the piece away that they were was Giannis or Cat or whatever. I mean, the world had Mikal Bridges to the Knicks last offseason, like the world had LeBron going to the Lakers. Like we all knew it was coming. We all saw it was coming. Everybody knew the whole thing. Villanova Voltron, 4 guys, blah, 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 blah. How are we going to figure out how to do this? How are we going to move the money around so that we can pay Hartenstein before he bails and then add Mikal Bridges and boom. And they lost that personality of being the rough and tumble New York Knicks, the Josh Hart. No one even thought he'd still be in the league. Hartenstein, how did he become a top fucking 12 center in the NBA? Look at what they're doing defensively. Oh, damn, they keep getting the wing stop guys and whatever. And then I get it. You go into the season, you don't have a 5. You don't have a 4 because you've gotten rid of Julius Randle, which everybody agrees we should have done. But you also got rid of Dante DiVincenzo in getting rid of Julius Randle, and all of a sudden you need Karl Anthony Towns. And I just think that there's a divide between how this Knicks team was built to win and the moves that they made this year. And sure, all the talk is Giannis. I don't really care about that talk. That talk is boring to me. And I think that what that talk does in I'm not a big trade machine guy. I think what the pontificating on Giannis does is tear this team to the ground and go, oh, well, Giannis and Brunson. I go, listen, man, I believe the same way I did a year ago when you showed me that clip. I believe that the core of this team, Brunson, Hart, OG Anunoby, now Mikal Bridges, even to this point, Mitchell Robinson. I feel like those guys, I feel like you do have a championship. I do feel like that is the core of the best team in the East if you consider what Boston's going to have to go through financially. Drew Holiday can't get paid. Not all those guys can get paid. And I go, what the Pacers are playing this high speed? We're going to fast break off of makes. Why aren't we playing the bully ball that we were built to play? And the reason is because we mortgaged that for Karl Anthony Towns.
Well, let me say this as far as the roster makeups. I think it's interesting that we have Thunder Pacers NBA Finals because the big three days are done, man.
Sure.
And you have a Pacers team where it's like Tyrese Halliburton gets all the press kind of, but who won the Eastern Conference?
Right.
Like who won the outstanding player, whatever I don't know what the award's called. Pascal Siakam.
Yeah.
It's like, now obviously SGA is the guy on the Thunder. My point is you have two teams that are both deep and both have
let me ask you something, Andy. Who do you have in the NBA Finals?
It's the Thunder.
Why?
Well, one based on just better, deeper team. It's pretty straightforward. I mean, like I'm not going on a limb. This is the things can happen. I could be wrong, but this is the overwhelming betting favorite is the Thunder.
The reason I have
they have the best player by far.
The reason I have the Oklahoma City Thunder because they're deep, but when you're matching up against the Pacers team, it's probably the one team they're not that much deeper than.
Correct. And
they don't have a better coach. And they have the best player. They have the best player by far. Yeah, but not like, Shea is still sort of he's a 1 to 2 tool player. Like he's not this complete.
He's a scorer.
Yeah, he's a scorer. The reason I have the Oklahoma City Thunder, and it's not fucking going to be close in my opinion, is their defense. It's their defense. They're the best defensive team. They have a very similar build to what the Knicks were building coming off of last season, where they're like, yeah, it's a guards league. Well, we have all these guys. And you know who else fucking did that? Rick Carlisle with the 2011 Dallas Mavericks. Rick Carlisle with this team, with Nembhard, with Nesmith, with all these guys that you can throw tons and tons and tons of guys at them. And that is the problem. Is like, I'll take the nice little fucking group you put together, but I'll take Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, Dante DiVincenzo, Deuce McBride, if you figure out a way to keep him, in that same sort of, we're going to throw a nonstop good wing defender at you.
So your point is that if you take this last year roster, the the 2024 Knicks playoff team,
and fire Julius Randle into the sun if he decides he's going to go play basketball in Spain or whatever.
you think they're better than the Pacers?
I said it, and I believe it, and also I think that it's, in a sense, it's going to be proven in the fucking NBA Finals. Oh, you have a scoring point guard. You have a point guard who's just a scorer, doesn't play a ton of
What do you
defense.
mean? Again, it's proven, but they lost. I'm gonna put. Let me show this. I just want you to answer this question.
Yeah,
from James.
Yeah,
on YouTube. Who do you think will have a better record? Now, I'm going to piggyback that question that we have next year. The Pacers or the Knicks is the question. Who has a better record? I'll add on to that. Who do you think goes farther in the playoffs?
Well, I don't think. Let me say this. I think if you don't change anything,
status quo.
If you don't change anything, if we don't change, if they don't change, I think it's gonna be just what it was this year. They'll probably be the 2 and the 3 seed or the 1 and the 2 seed, depending on what happens with Boston. They'll probably be 3 games within one another in the standings. They'll play an extremely tight series that went to 6 games despite first a game 1 meltdown / bogus call / bad bounce on a fucking terrible shot / like it took all the things, and it was a 6-game series. So I think that they're what's so funny is, like, I have been on the record of saying that the Knicks team was a bit flawed the whole year. I mean, people are acting like the Pacers swept the Knicks.
No, Mike. So you're basically saying you think if the roster stayed the same, the Pacers are the better team?
No, I'm saying they're exactly what they were this year, which is basically even teams.
I mean, it went 6.
It went 6 in a series where they lost game 1 on fucking a miracle. Listen, you got to give credit where credit's due to the Pacers for this run, but also we're not going to pretend the Pacers did to the Knicks what they did to the Cavs. We're not going to pretend it. I'm not going to sit here and pretend
it wasn't a boat racing, as you say.
Yeah. Oh, you won game 6 at home by 15 or whatever. Cool. We won game 5 at home by 15. Oh, we split in Indiana. Oh, we split in New York, except we didn't split in New York. You got a miracle fucking game 1.
So do you think these are the 2 teams? Obviously we have Boston. We don't know. We have Cleveland, who's going to probably really examine their roster.
I think if you're listen, here's the thing, and again,
you're saying you like the nucleus of these 2 teams.
I think the Knicks are still flawed, as I thought they were flawed going into this year. But that being said, the East isn't the West. Okay. That being said, here's the thing about Cleveland. I think, like the Knicks, Cleveland needs to take a look in the mirror and say, okay, let's say we did. And listen, I think that this is going to happen with the Pacers a little bit too. The goal isn't make the NBA Finals, right? It's nice. It's nice to make the NBA Finals. Congrats to Indiana Pacers and Eastern Conference Finals MVP Pascal Siakam for making the NBA Finals. It's good to make the finals. I've made the finals as a Knicks fan twice in my lifetime. Doesn't feel great looking back. I don't look back fondly on the year they lost to the Rockets or the year they lost to the Spurs. I'm not like, oh, that magical year where we made the finals run. I don't. Those are devastating finals losses for me historically. I do not look back on those teams as like, oh, remember when? And And I think this is going to happen to the Pacers too, because I think the Pacers are going to lose, and I think they are going to lose handily to the Oklahoma City Thunder, where you go, okay, what do we have to do to win a championship? And I think if you're the Cleveland Cavaliers, of these three teams, the Knicks, the Pacers, and the Cleveland Cavaliers, I think you would go, if our goal is to win an NBA championship, we really have to take a look at what we've built here, because we can't even get out of the fucking second round. And it wasn't close.
Yeah.
And it's happened a couple times. They had home court against the Knicks a couple years. Knicks smacked the shit out of them. They had home court against the Pacers this year. Pacers smacked the shit out of them. What is certainly not the goal, beyond making the NBA Finals, certainly not the goal, is to be the 1 seed in the East and lose in the second round. That's Karl Anthony Towns, or that's Karl Anthony Towns. I almost accidentally said his name in place of Carmelo Anthony. That's Carmelo Anthony, 52 win, 54 win. Knicks lose to the Pacers, but like you'll never catch Joe Prano on any podcast and that you're saying we were better than the Pacers, because I know we weren't.
Okay, let me bring up another question here from YouTube. What's one move the Knicks could make that you think would put them in the finals next year?
I'm not going to do – okay, well, here's the thing. I'm not going to do the whole fucking Giannis thing. I'm also just not going to do – I think when you start talking about like, well, if we got this player, then we could do this. But yet you don't get those star players.
So so you don't have to name a player. What do you think they need? Like a better defender?
Yeah.
A better.
Well, I think that you've now
big man.
I think that you've now. My issue with the Knicks is I think that you are now in an ultimate flawed situation. I think that you either need to be like, we have Karl Anthony Towns. That's something we have now. Okay. And we have Jalen Brunson. He's clearly the guy going forward. And yeah, we can use Hart and OG and McHale and Deuce McBride to help out defensively the way Rick Carlisle uses his wing guys to help out defensively while not being a great defensive team, and say, we're going the other way. We've got those guys who on a personal level can play defense. Now what we need is a second creator. A guy who can get the ball, and when Jalen Brunson goes to the bench, be like, he's the guy. They need the Jamal Crawford of today. They need a guy who's like, your star's out. It's time for me to fucking put up some points. They need a Lou Williams type. It doesn't have to be a starter. They need a 6th man of the year type scorer.
Okay.
Creator. And then if you do that, you lose Tibbs and you go, we're going offense. We're stuck with Karl Anthony Towns. He doesn't play defense. We already had Jalen Brunson, and we knew that, who doesn't play great defense because he's undersized. We knew we had that when we went out and got Karl Anthony Towns, who also doesn't play defense. And now teams are going to put those two guys together into pick and rolls. So my issue was always, yeah, Karl Anthony Towns, nice offensive player. And obviously a significantly better player than Isaiah Hartenstein. But you're building a fucking smash mouth basketball team. And now you've let a smash mouth guy who's actually like kind of underrated offensively go, and you've replaced him with a guy who can't play defense. And simultaneously, I was unaware of, has the worst whistle in the league. So to me, you either get your 6th man and you get a new coach, or you figure out how to get rid of Karl Anthony Towns and you double down on the personality that your team was before, which is a Tom Thibodeau defensive basketball team. That's unfortunately the catch-22 that I think the Knicks are caught in. They put themselves there. And again, I understood the move at the time because you're going into the season without a 5 because Mitchell Robinson was hurt. But for all the forethought that this, front office has shown in the last couple of years, it feels like they didn't have a forethought to figure out we don't want Julius Randle, but we also do want Isaiah Hartenstein. Why would we just do that in the reverse order and you wouldn't be in this situation?
All right. Well, I think we covered that nice and in depth. We do have Ryan Klatt sitting in the queue here. Was there anything else you wanted to add, or you want to bring Ryan on and talk a little?
Yeah, let's talk a little hockey.
A little Stanley Cup final. He's looking. I see in the preview body. Look, let's bring him on. He's looking fresh today. Look at this. Look at this guy. Looking smooth.
We're like the evolution of man with these beards.
You get a new haircut. You get the beard shaped up a little.
Yeah. Got it all cleaned up for this summer. It was time to say goodbye to the lettuce. So, you know what I loved before we get into that? You know what I love? Every time I joined the studio, like the backstage, and he gets a little twinkle in his eye every time he sees me. And a little coy, little smirk too. It's one of my favorite parts.
That's fun. Like, so I don't even realize I'm doing it. So like, I see you, and it's like,
it's like ding.
My son's here.
That's funny. That's
anyways.
Funny.
Well, yeah.
Fresh looking good. You're ready for the summer, and the summer's officially here, right? Because Stanley Cup final and the summer are basically like that's officially the start of the summer, right? Is that how the Canadians look at it?
Well, yeah, Jude. I mean, you'll hear this a lot, and I kind of share this opinion, but June is just too late for hockey. Like, we got to start the season sooner. We got to get this thing wrapped up. Like, this final starts on Wednesday, June 4th. Like, that should be when the last game is played. But we're starting June 4th. Like, this thing we're going deep into June with this final. So, but I love it. I love, watching hockey. It's bright out until 10 p.m. here, Joe. So you get a nice Miller Lite with the game on. You got the barbecue in the background. Like, it's phenomenal. I love it so much.
Now, has this always been the schedule, Ryan, or has that changed? Like, has the Stanley Cup final always been like the first week of June?
I feel like we get deeper into June every year. I think when I was a kid, I remember it would conclude like around June 5th. And then when there was fewer teams and fewer rounds, it was over by like end of May. But yeah, it seems to go a little bit deeper every year. I think the season should start in September, and then the final should be wrapped up by like June 3rd or something like that.
I would assume that they don't start the season in September because football starts in September now, and they're like, we can't be.
Yeah, that's a good point. Can't be competing with that. But
started in August.
Oh, there's an idea. Yeah,
hop on the other side. They should do hockey kickoff week the week before the NFL starts. Really?
Yeah.
Is there a chance that the season will end rather quickly, or do you expect that this will be a good series?
Well, yeah, we got a rematch, right? Rematch of last year. So
this is last year's final again.
It is. Yeah, we got the first rematch since 2009.
What did the series go last year?
Florida won in 7. Remember, they took a 3-0 series lead, and then Edmonton came all the way back to force a game 7, and then they lost a very close game 7. So Florida won last year. I expect it's going to be another just a hard-fought, long series. And
are they mostly, obviously a lot of players on a hockey team, are they mostly the same teams?
Florida is mostly the same team. They made some pretty key additions: Brad Marchand, Seth Jones, 2 big ones. Edmonton is quite a bit different this year, though, and I thought they lost a ton of key guys over the summer. A couple of their restricted free agents got taken from them by the Blues. I thought they got worse in the offseason, and throughout the season I saw that, and that's why I picked LA in the first round against Edmonton to revisit that a bit. And LA had a 2-0 series lead, and they had the lead in game 3 and I went over it. They made a stupid challenge that then Edmonton capitalized on the power play from that. And Edmonton's been rolling ever since, and their whole team has just bought in, and they're getting secondary scoring, which has always been kind of a diss of Edmonton. It's like, oh, it's the McDavid and Draisaitl show, and everyone just hop on their back, and we're gonna ride them, and we're gonna ride the power play all the way, and it's gonna be fucking frantic games, giving up a lot of goals, a lot of mistakes, but they can manage to outscore the other team. But this year's Edmonton team, quite a bit different. They can win sound defensive games. They're getting tons of secondary scoring, and they just look so much more balanced than they have in years past.
So we went 7 last year. We got a rematch, obviously. What do you see happening? Do you see anything differently happening? Do you predict are Panthers going back to back?
Well, I'm not going to give a specific prediction. I don't want to touch that, but I'm going to let you guys in on something that I'm sure maybe you've even seen already, because it's all people have been talking about. On my years of the show, if you guys have learned one thing from hockey, from me being on here, is that Connor McDavid is phenomenal. Am I right? Sure. He is going to go down as one of, if not the greatest hockey player to ever live. And in my years of watching hockey, he's the best hockey player I've ever seen. Now, the parallels going into this finals that I want to cover. Wayne Gretzky, 1983. He makes his first finals, loses to that Islanders dynasty. The next year, he has a rematch with the Islanders and beats them for his first cup. Sidney Crosby, who many people called the best player.
Now, is that Islanders team is the one that won 4 in a row?
Correct, yeah.
So he stopped them from winning 5 in a row.
Correct, yeah. That was Gretzky's first cup. Lost the finals against them in 83, won in 84. Sidney Crosby, who is called, the next one, the best player since Gretzky. He comes in, he loses to the Detroit Red Wings in 2008. 2009, goes back to the final and a rematch against Detroit and beats them for his first cup. So now we've got Connor McDavid.
This is what Isaiah Hartenstein could have been for the Knicks this year, but we didn't allow it.
He's often mentioned in the same breath as McDavid, isn't he?
Yes.
Unbelievable.
So McDavid loses to the Panthers in 2024, 2025. Gets all the way back to the finals. And I'm not going to make a prediction, but the stars seem to be aligning. And it would be really fucking shitty if the hockey gods decide, no, it's Florida again. I would be pretty devastated. I'm obviously going to be cheering hard for Edmonton, not just for McDavid and destiny and all that kind of stuff.
But also for Canada.
But for Canada. No cups since...
I'm also rooting for Canada.
I'm rooting for Canada too.
As I do. Oh, Andy's come around. Jeez, it's fucking proud to be an American. Where at least I know I'm free. He's on with you guys at this point.
Well, look, I can be Team America and Team Canada. I've always been.
Actually, you can't right now. You have to pick one. Are they the 51st state or are they their own country? Is Mexico a Gulf? Or is it America's Gulf? There's a line in the sand, Andy.
Ryan, I had said earlier in the show, I love to see records broken. And not this.
And by sand, I mean Elon Musk ketamine. There's a line in his ketamine.
It goes, not that it's a record, but that's what I'm saying. I want to see this drought end. I think it'd be great for Canada. And again, for me as an American, just so you know, I don't know what I don't know what Joe can speak on this. When I think of Canada, I think one of the first things I think of is hockey. It's you guys got to get a title. We need to get this back to Canada.
I mean, now that we know Klatt, I go hockey, maple syrup, trains. That's where I'm at. It was for a while.
Moose are out of it.
Yeah, I mean Moose. Okay, yeah, that's in there for sure. For sure.
Earl's Wine Bar. Earl's Wine Bar didn't make it.
Yeah, so nothing like dummying 5 bottles of wine at Earl's, right? And then doing a hockey correspondent call where you can't even talk anymore.
You know what I should do? I should go. I mean, this would be a lot of work. I don't know if I want to do this. I don't even know why I'm putting it out there. I should do a compilation. You know what? Maybe I will. Maybe I'll.
Does ChatGPT have this ability? Just be
Yeah.
like, ChatGPT, pull all the episodes of the Dirty Sports Podcast and cut up.
No, just the Jacob Faith
I
Earl's
know.
wine bar.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, we need a flashback of that.
It is
Electric.
Ryan, the evolution of the hockey correspondent on this show. Is pretty phenomenal. It's like you said, just getting loaded, just like classic young single dude. Now it's
I'll
like
tell you who's not rooting for Canada. Jake Bruder.
I was always gonna
No
say,
way. No way.
you
Well,
guys
not on
had
my watch.
you guys had co-hocky correspondents at I
That's what I'm
believe
saying.
Jacob
That's what I'm
Faith
saying.
covered the West, and he was obviously incoherently, schwacked. And then you had Jake Bruder he covered the Eastern Conference, and he just spewed nonsense. He didn't know puck at all.
Like the New Jersey
But my point is, now we have you like a good family guy. You got a good stable job. You're running trains. You looking cleaned up. It's like, look at this evolution.
Yeah, we've come a long way.
You know, in a lot of ways, not to toot my own horn, in a lot of ways, I've kind of followed. I went from the drunken, passed out on the sidewalk, Jacob Faith type. Now I'm like you, a family guy. Just
see, Ryan just took us through the history of the great players in NHL history and how they mirrored one another in their acquiring of their first cups. Meanwhile, you can look at a similar trajectory with Andy Ruther and the Dirty Sports Hockey Correspondent. I remember when you went through those years where you were showing where you're putting bikini shots on Snapchat. That was the Alexis years. Ruther was big on putting his fucking tits on Snapchat.
thong. There have been thong sightings, as we know, American flag.
Yeah,
thong
that's
sightings.
right.
So that tracks. So you're not going to make a prediction, but
No.
it seems you're saying the stars seem to be aligning. We're
Stars-
rooting for Connor. We're rooting for
Destiny
Edmonton.
going Edmonton's way. Obviously, Florida is incredibly formidable. It's going to be very difficult. I think, the Oilers have to just, they're going to have to weather the storm. Florida, they're hard on the forecheck. They finish all of their checks. They're very physical and they're opportunistic scoring. They just always seem to find a way to score when they need to. And they've got a decided advantage in goaltending too.
That's what I was about to ask. I was like, yada, yada, yada. Who's playing goalie?
Yeah, we can get into that. So Florida, we've got Sergei Bobrovsky.
Oh yeah.
Remember him?
Oh yeah.
I think I've covered before how there was an ongoing thing on TSN where the one host would prop him up like he was this loose cannon cop from like a buddy cop movie. Be like, Bobrovsky, you're off the force. You're too reckless.
Now is he a Sasky boy? Is he a Sasky boy?
like
Do I
some
remember
hockey.
correctly?
No, he's Russian.
Okay. I was way off. Sorry.
That's the opposite of Saskatchewan.
Yeah. Sorry. Sorry.
So we've got Bobrovsky, future Hall of Famer, very solid, dependable goalie, 2-time Vezina winner. And then on the other side, we got Stuart Skinner, who is absolutely volatile. Like during this run, he lost his starting job after the first 2 games against LA. Then they threw in Edmonton's backup Pickard, who he actually went 6-0, and then he got injured. So then they had to throw Skinner back in. And Skinner has been incredible in the games that Edmonton's won, and he has been bad in the games that they lost. Like he is capable of just laying eggs, but he's also capable of standing on his head. So you've got this Jekyll and Hyde, who's going to show up tonight story with Stuart Skinner, a local Edmonton boy, by the way, Edmonton born and bred, Stuart Skinner.
Skinner, what's that? Ukrainian?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of Ukrainians in the prairies, that's for sure, but certainly not last name Skinner. But yeah, so 2 very different goaltending stories there. But Florida definitely has the edge. They just got so much more dependability with Bobrovsky.
What's the betting line on the series? You know, is there a?
I don't know.
I mean, I'm assuming Florida. I'm assuming Florida's favored, but I wonder how significantly.
Trevor, pull that up, please.
Let's pull it up here. We just talked about. Wait, is this right? We just talked about Bet ESPN, and maybe we'll go to a different one.
They're all gonna be pretty close.
Edmonton minus 130, Florida plus 110.
Wow.
Really? Wow. I'm not well, Edmonton does have home ice advantage.
Okay.
So that's worth noting.
Well, same on FanDuel. I mean, it's similar. Edmonton minus 122, Florida plus 102.
Wow.
Ooh.
So Edmonton is the favorite.
Interesting. Yeah, I wouldn't have expected that, to be honest.
But again, like you said,
Edmonton is
pretty
home ice.
evenly matched.
Very evenly matched. Like I wouldn't be surprised at all if this goes 7.
I'm calling it right now. This is going to be Canada's big sports month. You're going Edmonton title, SGA, NBA Finals MVP.
Mm.
Ooh.
51st state is going to be lit.
You're going to take back. They're going to rename it Gulf of Canada.
Yeah.
They're going to go over Mexico, go over America, and just say we own that too.
And we're taking Alaska too while we're at it.
Ooh.
Yeah, it seems honestly that seems only fair. It's crazy that we own that.
Did you guys ever have a lot? Like, I don't even know the history. Like,
It was Russia before, right?
I think
I'm pretty sure. I could be
bought it
wrong.
from Russia.
I think I could be wrong. on that.
Let me ask you something on all the America stuff. Just like anecdotal. Is there like a big sense of pride now with all the wild stuff Trump says, or is it laughed at, or is it both, or is it like fuck this guy?
It's both. I mean, we're certainly. I think there's been a lot of trying to buy more Canadian stuff as opposed to buying American stuff because all the tariffs and American stuff is just more expensive.
Yeah,
simply here. So there's been a lot of that. I know a lot of people that were planning vacations in the States pulled out.
We have a lot of my fiance is Canadian, lived in Canada, and we have some folks not coming to the wedding because they don't want to.
Really?
They don't want to travel during Trump. Also, Ruther's having a hard time getting from Ohio with the tariff situation. But
I didn't know your fiance was Canadian.
I didn't either. This is
well,
news to me.
Well, born in New York, but both parents are Canadian and lived in Toronto for, I don't know, 10 years, something like that. Went to school in Toronto. Moved from Toronto to California, which is how we connected. But yes, Canadian, 2 Canadian parents.
Do they say stuff like, just fucking giving her a bud?
What? Come again?
Right.
Excuse you? God bless you.
Now I want to go back to Ruther's question just because I'm fascinated by it as well. Social media is I don't believe everything I read, but it feels like there are Canadians. This is just based on my social media, on the social media presence. There are Canadians who are like fucking Trump stans.
Oh yeah, it's interesting, Joe, because the biggest Trump stans in Canada are the people who have like Canadian flags on their trucks, or like the biggest Canadian nationalists are Trump lovers.
When he says shit like they're going to be a 51st state, are they like? I mean, it's sort of a classic thing with a Trump supporter, but like they're like, yeah, but like that stuff, like. Are there people who are like, yeah, come take us, make us the 51st state? Or are those people who are like, really?
Well, I think people like that are like, well, Canada's just lost its way, and I would be so much prouder to be an American and the way they run things. We let in too many immigrants in Canada. There's too many, blah, blah, blah here. Like we've lost our way. Trudeau ruined our country. So yeah, hell yeah to Trump. So that's that sentiment. So,
I was suggesting that maybe that those people are, classic Trumpers, and that they're like, yeah, love Trump, and then they're like, well, you're going to be the 51st state, and they're like, well, not that part, but that's interesting.
No, they follow him blindly. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
it's weird how the people who are quote unquote proud Canadians forever and have these Canadian flags on their truck on their fucking jacked up trucks are Trump lovers, but that's
Well, it's all very interesting because I and again, this is just my opinion. I think it's just trolling. I think he says stuff, right, and it's like he gets a rise, and that's who he is. It's like,
he says
it's
buzzwords.
like, but I also think he trolls. I also think he trolls, and then a lot of times when he trolls, pick any subject. I think he's like, well, maybe we will, then the light bulb goes off, like maybe we will do it, and then people around him are like,
he's a bad crowd work comic, and then once he gets, and then he'll riff, and it'll like be killing at the hostel, and then he's like, maybe I'm serious.
Yeah, the 51st state thing kind of took on a life of its own, didn't it?
Anyway, I'm going big month for Canada. I'm going Edmonton raises Canada's first cup in how long?
83, you said?
93, the year I was born,
sorry.
1993.
So, that would be what? The Canadians?
That's correct, Joe. Yeah, against Gretzky's LA Kings was last time. Should have been Canadians Leafs final. Should have been. But Kerry Fraser missed a high sticking call on Gretzky late in game 6. And then Gretzky wound up scoring in overtime against the Leafs.
Clot never forgets.
And Toronto was in the West then?
Yeah, that's... I knew somebody was going to catch it. Yeah, Toronto was in the Western Conference up until like the mid-90s or something. Bizarre. There just must not have been enough teams in the West.
It's so wild to look back at realignments on sports.
Oh yeah,
right. Like that's how I grew up. The Reds were always in the West.
Yeah.
Until like 95, and I'm like the Dodgers were a big rival for the Reds as a kid. I'm like,
if your sun sets after 11 p.m., you're in the West. That's that's the rules.
The Detroit Red Wings were in the West up until like 2014. Like when I think back of the powerhouses in the West as a kid, for me, it was the Detroit Red Wings, which like they're fucking stone's throw away from Toronto, which is crazy. Yeah. But anyways,
I wonder.
Sorry,
I was gonna say I wonder what the distance is between the two, because I saw this is the shortest distance ever for an NBA final. I don't know if you guys saw it, but like they said, the distance, and it's still I forget, it's like 650 miles, but it's still the shortest ever. Whereas obviously this isn't a short distance, I assume.
Yeah, I think we talked about it last year. Edmonton, Florida is almost as far away as you can be. I think Florida and Vancouver would be further, but very, very far away at finals. I don't know where it ranks, but Edmonton. I did want to touch on one thing about Edmonton, and I know Andy's going to have some sort of comment about this, but Edmonton did lose a very key player, Zach Hyman. Zach Hyman.
Hyman, the old Hyman.
Just a heart and soul, salt of the earth guy. So I think he must have injured his shoulder or his collarbone or something. But anyways,
or his Hyman.
Season-ending surgery for him. So they're going to be missing him.
They have a busted Hyman.
There you go. Okay, I was expecting Addy to say something, but it was
Joe. He beat me to it. I was gonna do something. I was gonna say broken Hyman, but okay. Okay. Well, it sounds like we have a good one to look forward to. A good little rematch.
Yeah, for sure. Edmonton took care of business against Dallas way easier than I thought they would. So they're looking really good. And Florida took care of Carolina like I thought they would very easily. So
let me ask you this real quick before we let you go. You talk about you think Connor McDavid, when it's all said and done, the best hockey player ever. How many? Because we all know we have this discussion all the time on Dirty Sports with rings and counting rings with the greats. But like, how many titles do you think he needs though to be in that mix? Does he need a couple? Like what's a number? What's a good number? You think he needs 3, 2?
I think.
Does it matter to you?
For me, it doesn't matter too much. I think 1 is fine. I think for most people, he would need at least 2. Crosby has 3. Gretzky has 4. There's a ton of players who have won a lot more than Gretzky, but Gretzky kind of, obviously considered the greatest by most people.
Sure.
Not everyone, but by most people.
And all of Gretzky's 4 were with Edmonton.
That's right, yeah. Whereas Messier won 6. He won one with Edmonton post Gretzky and one with the Rangers, obviously. So that's right. So yeah, he couldn't get it done with LA or St. Louis or New York either. So.
All right, Ryan. Well, it's always a pleasure having you on, and we'll be looking forward to this, and we'll have to bring you back for a recap.
I look forward to watching SGA drink out of the cup in sunny Canada, sunny summer of Canada.
Sunny Sudbury or wherever.
Yeah.
He's from Ontario, I think. I don't know where.
Yeah, he's Ontario.
Yeah. But yeah, for the last time. My next appearance will be the last one. So.
All right, Clatter. Good having you on, and
Canada winning a cup.
Yeah, we'll have to do it soon after this thing ends.
For sure. All right. Hopefully you guys watch a bit too.
We will.
Yeah, I'll check in on it.
I'm gonna get the girls into it. Ryan, I'm gonna introduce hockey to the girls.
For sure. Yeah, Edmonton's incapable of playing a boring game. So
okay.
The girls will be like, "Why do their heads come all the way open?" It's like, "Oh, that's the Terrence and Phillip thing."
All right, Ryan. Good having you on, man.
All right.
Later, bud.
See you, buddy. What a great guy. What a great hockey correspondent.
Yeah, he's amazing. I didn't know I twinkled when he came on.
Yeah, I can see
see
that.
it.
I can see you getting a little twinkle in your eye. Just start thinking about trains.
And I get a twinkle in my pants too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When he said that, it made me think. There is no better feeling as a parent. We talk about daycare so much on the show. There's no better feeling than when your daughter runs over to you, or your kid, whoever it is. Like when you pick them up, like that feeling of just like running over to be hugged and picked up. Like that's a good feeling. And apparently that's how I look at Ryan. Like I'm doing my daughter to him. If he was here, I would hug him and he would pick me up. And then I'd say, I love you, Daddy.
Just going to keep letting you run this.
Well, look, man, I think we've covered a lot this show. We do have a hotline. I want to put it back out there. It is, what is it here?
Covington, Kentucky.
Covington, Kentucky. 859-832-0478. Again, it's going to be in the description of all the podcast. 859-832-0478. Although, I like today, if you guys ever want to hop in the comments, that's great too. When we're live.
Yeah. But I'd like to, who's going to throw out the first pitch? You know
that's
what
I'm wondering.
Yeah. Fucking put out the Kyle Aronofsky bat signal. Has Kyle called the show more than anyone's called the show, you think?
I don't know. It's a good question.
Eddie Ift was literally just calling me. I just missed Eddie's call. Did you see Eddie this weekend?
I didn't.
Okay.
We texted. I gotta get back to him. He was understanding. It's just like weekends are tough.
But there was one point where whoever, like, Eddie's gone through so many like producers and people trying to like get talking shit, bingle bust, talking stuff, whatever, all the different iterations. So at one point they were like, you've been on that show more than anybody. I was like, I didn't even fucking, he was doing it like 10 years before I even came on. And they're like, yeah, you've been on more than anybody. I was like, yeah, I guess that kind of tracks. It's always like a call. I wonder if Kyle Aronofsky is that for us, if anybody's called more, because he's been pretty consistent. There's been some hot, people go through hot streaks. Like there's probably a point where Skeletor had called more than him, but
Skeletor. Our boy from Michigan calls a lot. Forget his name. Sorry,
Nick D'Alessandro?
No, not Nick. Not Nick. Nicky D.
No, there's another Nick D'Alessandro in Michigan.
I know there is.
Okay.
Which, like, what are the odds?
Right.
If you don't think we live in a simulation, I like everybody talks about us living in a simulation. Like that is
simulation just runs out of names. It's like starts printing more Nick D'Alessandros.
That's insane. Well, give us a shout again. It's 859-832-0478. Just put it in your phone.
Follow me on social media at Joe Prano. Subscribe to our Substack at Dirty Sports. Subscribe to mine, Joe Prano, joeprano.com for shows. We're just recorded a little something. Some of the folks in the live. Some of the folks in the live got a preview of something that I've announced. I announced it to the live, but possible new project dropping later this week.
Is that how you throwing a breadcrumb, or we
I'm gonna throw a breadcrumb because I don't want to like get it too, but there's a potential that it'll be out on Thursday and then I can promote it on Friday and go, everybody go listen or watch this.
You and Jacob Faith are teaming up for
Me
a
and
show.
Jacob Faith. Me and a Canadian. I'll give you that.
Oh, another little breadcrumb.
Little breadcrumb. Me and a Canadian.
I'm saying that's probably a callback.
Oh, interesting. You'd be wrong. A callback to this show or a callback to a different show?
Call back to this show.
A callback to this show. It is a callback to this show.
Ooh, okay.
There you go. You did nail. You nailed it, Andy.
I thought I was picking up on that.
I thought you might be insinuating I was returning to
Lachlan.
record with Lachlan.
No.
No, it is. Yeah, call back to this show. So keep your ears and your eyes open at Joe Prano on all social media, Joe Prano on Substack, joeprano.com for shows. Got a couple shows coming up. Yeah, come see me. And also shout out to the people who were there for the live. I prepped it. I told everybody, join me for a 2.5 hour nervous breakdown. And it wasn't a 2.5 hour nervous breakdown. It was about a 40-minute nervous breakdown. But throughout that breakdown, numerous dirtballs were like, hey man, you're going through it. Here's some Miller Lite money in my Venmo. And I was like, I appreciate it. Thank you. So thanks everybody for tuning into that.
Cool.
Go Thunder.
What's that?
Go Thunder. Go Canada.
I'm rooting for the Pacers, baby. You know, my area, my neck of the woods. But Thunder in 5 is the Andy Ruther prediction. I think it's going to be pretty quick series. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys on Friday. And as always, stay dirty.